Today we are talking about how to change your relationship with food. And specifically, we're going to be talking about how to apply and how to do unconditional eating for a beginner. Unconditional eating, the quick story, you can watch this testimonial video on the website of mine, but a story of Kat where she was depriving herself, she was not letting herself eat ice cream, and then she noticed that she would always binge on ice cream over the weekend. And we finally got to a point where she could see that deprivation when she had rigid rules, when she wasn't connected emotionally, when she wasn't feeding herself, that it led to these binge eating attacks. And so we know that we have to reach a binge-free stability period. That's our goal right here. And so she really applied the unconditional eating steps we're about to cover. And lo and behold, instead of ice cream being this like battle that she was in, refraining, avoiding, and then going all at it, instead of this like tug of war, she has ice cream a few times a week. It's pretty normal. She's eating way less than she was overall. We asked her to compare. How much ice cream were you binging on? 2 to 3 pints, sometimes more. Now she might have less than a pint a week. So big difference. Big difference. That's the power of unconditional eating. It does not mean these foods are gone out of your life. In fact, it means you'll probably eat them at some regular interval. And that's okay. You want to the food is your emotional reaction. Unconditional eating is about neutralizing your emotional reaction. So whether you have a chip or you have an ice cream or a carrot, it's all the same emotionally. Now, physically, these foods are going to affect you differently. If you really pay attention, maybe the chip makes you feel a certain way, a carrot makes you feel another way. So it's an emotional reaction that's the same, and that gives you the mindfulness and ability to listen to your body about the physical effects on your body. So we're going for a clean emotional state. Now, how we get there is, theoretically speaking, a diet is restriction, and so we unrestrict. Okay, and this thing about unrestriction, about freedom, about not having rules is terrifying for a lot of people. And before we get into the steps, I just want to go over again real quick why you honestly have nothing to be afraid of. First of all, the foundation of eating enlightenment. You have it within you. You have it within you. You can have a normal relationship with food. This isn't about weight loss. This is about a normal, peaceful, sane relationship with food. This is your birthright. It's your evolutionary history that's led you here. You deserve and can have a normal relationship with food. No matter how much trauma you've had in your life, no matter how poorly your eating skills have gone, no matter how many times you've dieted, you can train these skills to have binge-free stability. Now, the other thing is we're being practical about this too. Remember the unconditional eating, it's balanced and supported by various factors. It's like a tripod. My camera's on a tripod stand. If I took away one of those legs, the camera would fall over. So unconditional eating, it's balanced on top of several different legs, right? One leg, very, very important. You're eating nutrient-dense food a few times a day. That's a protein, fat, and a whole grain carb. Pretty much every meal, few times a day. You're really feeling your body. You're actively trying to take breaks during the day to manage your emotions, to maybe journal or talk to a friend about processing those emotions. You are honestly making a sincere attempt to meet your emotional needs, to understand what your emotions are telling you, and to honor the needs that your emotions are telling you. You are listening to hunger and fullness, and especially what makes you satisfied, especially after you eat. Like, what fills you up? What sustains you? What's fuel for your body instead of crap for your body? We are learning to speak compassionately to ourselves. Instead of screaming at ourselves when we make a mistake, we're learning to say, it's okay. Why? And we have a growth mindset. Why did that mistake happen? What happened? How can I do differently next time? What am I learning from this binge eating attack? We treat our binges like teachers. And we're looking at our habits and what sort of benefits are you getting out of binge eating? What sort of triggers are there prompting you to eat? And are you practicing mindfulness, which is really sitting with those uncomfortable emotions and sitting with it, and just, one step at a time, sit with it. What do you need in that moment? If you're doing these things, then we can begin unconditional eating. Now, there's also a quiz, a readiness quiz that hopefully you've taken. I will link to that below. Just check to make sure that those items on the readiness quiz, you're got a pretty good thumbs up on them. But now we are ready to hop into unconditional eating. So essentially, you want to plan it out. You want to think about what food it's going to be, and you pick one food in the beginning. Pick one food in the beginning. And later on, as you build your confidence, you can open up your unconditional eating to more and more foods. But just take a little bit at a time. I recommend that. Take a little bit at a time. So that means, let's say you binge on a variety of different foods. Pizza and fast food and ice cream. Pick ice cream to start with, or pick pizza. Just pick one at a time. Pick one food that you want to normalize, neutralize your emotional reaction to. And so you pick that one food. Now, then you pick when are you going to eat it, where am I going to eat it, and even how. You get to decide a lot here. You get to pick how. Most important question, what would you need in that moment to feel safe? Really, really important that when you actually go through this process, you feel safe, basically. You're relaxed, you're unrushed, you don't have any time commitments coming up. This might be on the weekend. So just kind of sit down, find some space for yourself, and then what we do during, so you plan it out, and then there's this moment. There's this, you can eat as much as you want. This is how we end up neutralizing our emotions. Not neutralizing, but just making sure that all foods are emotionally equal. So if you eat ice cream, it has the same emotional reaction as eating a green salad. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a difference physically. The ice cream is going to make you feel a certain way, and the salad is going to make you feel a certain way. So physically there's a difference, but emotionally it's the same reaction. The way we get to that emotional neutralness is by trusting our appetite. Your appetite right now, if you have that ice cream or whatever your binge food you're picking, your appetite it's usually you're not allowing yourself to have this food. So your appetite is desperately wanting it. It's desperate. And so you gently, mindfully, carefully, safely let that deprived part of you have that food. Go slow. And what we want to do is observe before, during, and after. So right before you eat it, what are you feeling? Dread? Nervousness? Over giddiness? What are you feeling? During, what's it like? What's the taste like? When does it stop tasting as good? And then after, how do you feel after? An hour after, 2 hours after. Keep on eating until your stomach doesn't want anymore. And sometimes this line between the stomach and desire is hard to find. You might be starting to get more full, but you're not quite sure when to stop. That's okay. That's okay. Just do your best. And how this whole process works is that if you're working on one food at a time, you have that food basically available. So you can go outside if you want to a restaurant and get that food there. You can pick it inside your house, but you want it to be available. This doesn't mean that if at the slightest urge, you just drop all your chores and go eat that food. It doesn't mean that. Remember, in the beginning, we want safety first, okay? So, maybe you want a craving and it's just not the right time for you to really give into it. It's okay to don't think you need to drop all your chores and your emails because you get a craving for some food. that you're practicing unconditional eating, so you have to meet it immediately. No. We're doing baby steps. We're doing baby steps, right? We prioritize safety. You feel safe, okay? Maybe that's only doing it once a week or twice a week or whatever. But when you feel safe and you got that desire, we are going into that experience where we're allowing ourselves to eat the food. We're staying awake. We're staying conscious. There's no guilt. We're just trying to learn. What does this feel like physically? And what we can expect is that when we first give ourselves freedom to eat these foods, there's going to be a lot of excitement. That excitement sometimes lasts a couple weeks. Sometimes it's a lot shorter. It really is up to you. Some people, that excitement is still there, and a couple weeks go by before that excitement really starts to die down. And most times it's a little bit quicker, where you might even have this tremendous excitement where you sit down, you start tasting the food, and it's really good, but then like 10 bites in, 15 bites in, it's just like, it's just, And that could be it. And maybe, there's a lot of wiggle room. So we can expect there to be this period of excitement, but basically how unconditional eating works, it's this thing called food habituation. And, if you've ever thrown up on alcohol, that's alcohol habituation, basically, where you don't want alcohol the next day. The same thing was with any other food. If you just eat that food, it becomes boring, right? So if you allow yourself to have ice cream when you want ice cream, for the most part, then that ice cream is just going to become boring. It's like you can have it at any time, so, why have it? And now, when foods become scarce, they get into our head, we can't stop thinking about them. But when you know in your heart of hearts that ice cream or whatever food you want that you can actually have it, you can really have it. You have to, there's a scarcity part within you. There's a part of you that feels like this is the last time you're ever going to have that food. And that's not true. And you need to be able to speak to that part of yourself and say, hey, part of me, you actually can have ice cream tomorrow. And you can actually have seconds if you want. You need to be able to have that relationship with that part of you who's deprived and kind of speak to that part of you. So that's how you do unconditional eating. Just real quick, plan it out, feel safe, and then pay attention before, during, and after. After you do this for a while, after you unconditionally eat for a few foods, maybe a week or 2 or 3 has gone by, there might be circumstances when you binge eat again. And it could be even on ice cream, and you might be, what is going on? There's another link below which I'll provide, which is all about exploring why you can't stop eating. So this goes through some other factors that could lead to a feeling of deprivation that you might not have realized. Like maybe you just had lunch with a friend and they ordered a salad and said, oh, like, why are you ordering a hamburger? That's really high in fat. And that's a judgmental comment. And that could put you in a deprived state that might lead to a binge. There's other things too, like maybe there's just some rebellious part of you that says, I want ice cream, and you just give into it or whatever. There's parts of that. Maybe you're not sleeping enough, that you're stressed out, some relationships are affecting you too hard, too negative, or perhaps you're on a new medication, a new pattern of eating, and perhaps you're not eating enough. So there's a bunch of different reasons that you can kind of pinpoint. I attached that down below. There's a link down below. The main thing to realize is that when you start unconditionally eating, it's not like binge eating just drops off. We're going down. The frequency maybe starts up here, but the frequency goes down over time, and it kind of goes like this. So you can expect, even after you unconditionally eat, that you're gonna spike up every now and then. And what that spike is, then, what happened there? You gotta practice these skills. What happened there? What happened? You know, how did I feel deprived? Was I not eating enough? Why was I drawn to that food? And so, yeah, that's how you do unconditional eating. Let me know of any questions you have, and good luck.